Hi everyone, and welcome back to English4U. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're talking about the pratfall effect. Now we've kind of introduced this idea in day one. Now it sometimes is going to be a really key word here, it sometimes makes us like people more when we see them making a mistake.
Absolutely. An experiment was done to sort of demonstrate or test out this idea. In the experiment, they took two students. Now, one of the students was a really great student, top marks, and also amazing on the sports field, captain of the sports team. Really an all-star student. The second student was kind of average grades, not really interested in sports, the kind of student that might kind of fade into the background and not be one of those superstars in high school. Well, they interviewed both students and then played the interviews to other people who were asked to say, what do you think of these students? What do you think of the good student or the average student? Tell us your impressions.
Now, unsurprisingly, most people who listened preferred the first student. They think, oh, that guy's a cool guy, I'd like to meet him, be his friend.
Popular.
I think he's better than the other. However, then a second interview for each student was played. And the end of each of the interviews, the students spilled coffee on themselves.
They made a mistake.
They made a mistake.
Ah, okay. So here's the question. How did this mistake, and hearing the mistake, how did this change how the listeners felt about those students? Did it change their impressions? If you had the star student, but then you heard them kind of make a goofy mistake and spill coffee, would it make you feel, oh, he's not quite as cool or as great as I thought? Or if it's the other student and they're kind of average, but they show they're human, that they make mistakes, would it make you feel, I kind of like that guy a little bit more?
He's a lovable moron.
He reminds me of me.
Yeah.
Or something like that. That was what they were trying to find out.
Reading.
The pratfall effect. Is a little less than perfect the new perfect? The results of Yale's pratfall experiment were interesting. After hearing the accident, the listeners said they liked the high-achieving student even more. Dropping the coffee had made him easier to relate to. The average student, however, was not so lucky. As the listeners already had a poor opinion of him, they found his mistake annoying. In fact, they even thought he was less attractive. So, what could this mean for you? Further studies have shown that the pratfall effect can be used to your advantage in the real world. One, by Swansea University in the UK, even found it can help in job interviews. It showed that people who were already doing well gave an even better impression when they admitted to previous mistakes. It can also build trust, too. Jack Ma, who started Alibaba, says that being humble and joking about his intelligence has helped him build professional relationships. Perhaps more of us should take this into consideration. We might learn that there's no shame in missing the odd mark. We're only human, after all.
All right, so let's look at this experiment. We already understand the experiment, but we still haven't heard the results. What did the experiment show once they were all finished? Well, let's find out. The first sentence says, the results of Yale's pratfall experiment were interesting. Yale is the university where it was done. A pratfall is kind of an embarrassing accident or something like that. So, apparently, the results were interesting, but we still don't know what they showed. So, what did they show?
Well, we see that after hearing the accident, so that's the coffee spill,
Coffee.
the listeners said they liked the high-achieving student even more.
Even more?
So they've got a better impression than they had, even though he's made a mistake. Now, we called this mistake an accident. An accident is something that happens that you don't plan. You don't mean to do it. You don't think it's going to happen. It just happens. And when we say accident, we almost always use it to mean something bad. You could say it was a lucky accident.
A happy accident?
Yeah, but generally an accident is a bad thing. Two cars hit each other. You spill coffee on yourself. You drop a glass bottle and break it everywhere. These are all accidents. You don't want them to happen. You didn't plan for them. They just did. Here's an example sentence. If you don't pay attention to what you are doing, you might have an accident.
That's how accidents often happen.
Okay, so he made a mistake. This accident happened, yet people liked him more.
Right. Let's find out why. It says dropping the coffee had made him easier to relate to. So people liked this student because he seemed very impressive, very smart, popular, a good athlete, but maybe a little too great.
Too
a little
perfect.
Too perfect. I can't really compare myself because he's just too great.
Yeah, sometimes if you're an average person, people who are perfect, you kind of hate them a little.
A little bit. Even if you admire them, it makes you feel bad about yourself in some way. But in this case, hearing that perfect person make a very human mistake that even goofy people like us can make, made it easier to relate to that person. Now, this phrasal verb to relate to basically means to feel sympathy or to identify with the person, to feel like you have a connection to that person, right? I mean, we can't understand what it is to be a Hollywood superstar and travel around in private jets and live in, beautiful houses. But when you see that celebrity and they were sitting on their lovely boat, but they forgot to put on sunscreen and got an embarrassing sunburn, you might, hey, I've done that before too. I wasn't on a boat, but I did the same thing. And that makes it easier to sort of feel a close emotional connection, to understand them, to feel like we've had the same experiences, even though we're very different people. You're relating to that person. And of course, with our friends, our family, we relate to these people because they're, big parts of our lives.
Yeah, and if you relate to someone or something, you kind of like it more because you feel this connection to it. However, so that's the smart guy, clever guy, Captain Cool, makes the mistake and everybody likes him more.
Even cooler because he's kind of like us.
Kind of human. He's just like us.
All right.
However, or as the article says, the average student, however, was not so lucky.
Interesting. So this was the student with the average grades, not a great athlete, just kind of normal. No one that special.
Average Joe.
But average Joe made a mistake. How did people feel after hearing that? As the listeners already had a poor opinion of him, they found his mistake annoying. Wow, so that means they probably liked him a little bit less than they had before, and they didn't love him before. In this case, hearing the accident made them feel that this student is annoying. Something that's annoying, it could be a person. We also often talk about things around us that can be annoying. A fly that keeps trying to fly in your face when you're busy doing something. That can be annoying. Loud noises outside when you're trying to read or study or concentrate. That can be annoying. And if I did this to Pat for the next 15 minutes, that would be really annoying to him. You'd be like, stop, leave me alone, don't do that. And he would be right, because it is very annoying. So people can be annoying, things can be annoying, but when something is annoying, it's bothering you, it's stopping you from concentrating, and it's basically making your life not so good. And yes, also in this sentence, we see today's grammar point. Don't say grammar points are annoying. They're important. Maybe a little annoying, but they are important. So let's check it out. Find plus object plus verb ing or past participle. Now, we use this pattern when we're trying to say what happened to something or somebody. In most cases, this situation happens unexpectedly. For example, we could say, Francine found her mother's expensive vase broken on the kitchen floor. So this was the situation that presented itself when Francine walked into the room. This is what she found or discovered or basically experienced. So Francine just came home, she turned on the light, and there on the floor, she saw her mother's expensive vase broken all over the place. Not good. And because the vase is already broken, the action of breaking it happened in the past. That's why we use broken, the past participle form, rather than the present participle breaking. If she walked in and found her mother's vase breaking on the floor, that means she was walking in just as it fell and hit the ground, which is not likely. All right, let's look at another example of this sentence pattern. Spencer found his little brother stealing money from their mother's purse. So in this case, Spencer did walk in as the action was happening. That's why we use the ing. He caught his brother red-handed right at that moment trying to take some money from their mother's purse. Ooh. So because this action is in the process, is happening at that time, that's why, as I said, the verb ing, stealing, would be used. Interesting. So the average student making a very normal human mistake makes that student more annoying.
Yeah, they're like, who is this guy? Like,
I didn't like him
doesn't
before,
study
and I
hard,
like him even less now.
spills coffee.
What a goof.
And as the article says, in fact, they, the listeners, even thought he was less attractive.
Really?
Maybe they imagine this guy, okay, captain of the sports team, captain cool, he's got to be a handsome guy.
Okay.
Okay, this average guy who just spilled coffee on himself, he probably doesn't look too good.
Oh my gosh.
That's what they think. They think he's less attractive. We use the word attractive here to talk about usually someone, sometimes something, that is pleasing to the eye. You look at it and go, that looks good. We often talk about a person being attractive, as in this sentence. They are good looking, they're handsome, they're beautiful, they are attractive. With a thing, we could say something like, look at that very attractive dress in that shop window.
Oh.
The dress looks good, it looks really nice.
There you go. We can also, of course, use other words like beautiful, pretty, handsome. The good thing about attractive is it works for all sorts of situations. You don't have to worry if it's a person, a
Man,
thing,
woman,
a
it's
man,
both
a
good.
woman. All of these things can be attractive. They're appealing to the eye. You look at it and go, me like. For example, let's get back to the article. It says, so, what could this mean for you? Now, we know the results of the experiment with the popular student, the not so popular, and the mistakes. But what does this mean in the real world? What does this mean for us?
Yeah, this pratfall effect. Could you do something to kind of use it, really? How will it affect you?
Don't spill coffee on yourself.
It's a good point. Well, further studies have shown that the pratfall effect can be used to your advantage in the real world.
Really?
Yeah, now if you use something to your advantage, you use this situation to benefit you in some way. Okay, so you go, that's the situation. How can I make that work for me so I end up kind of getting something out of it? If you're very tall, you might use that to play basketball. You are using your height to your advantage.
Right.
If you know somebody who works at a company, you say, hey, help me get a job, you're using that connection to your advantage.
Interesting.
So, what about these further studies?
Right. So
what have we got?
Yale University in the States was where they did this original student interview experiment, but of course other places tested it out too. It says one other experiment or one study by Swansea University in the UK even found it can help in job interviews. So using the pratfall effect in a job interview can actually help people be successful and hopefully get that job.
Okay, and what they found is it showed, so this study showed, that people who were already doing well gave an even better impression when they admitted to previous mistakes. Now, a key part in there is saying they were already doing well.
Right.
If they were kind of coming off or appearing to be average, the mistake would hurt them. But if they looked perfect, maybe the interviewer's like, you're too perfect. I don't even believe you, but you've just made a mistake. Okay, you're normal, you're a human being. I like that. That's actually improved my opinion.
Interesting.
Another thing to remember here, the mistake that someone kind of talks about, that they admit to, shouldn't be about their job.
No.
No, the interviewer doesn't want to hear that you've made a mistake doing your previous jobs.
Right.
And maybe you got fired for them. That's a bad impression.
Yes.
But if you just give a kind of general life thing like, oh yeah, I sometimes get lost, or oh yeah, I nearly got on the wrong train.
Right.
You know, something that doesn't really affect your life in a bad way, that can show your human side.
And also a small mistake.
It's got to be something small, yes.
I accidentally robbed a bank.
Right. That's not the one.
Not be a good impression. That would make
How
them
do you accidentally rob a bank?
Police. Well, that's a good question. All right, but basically showing that you're a slight bit less than perfect can make you more likable. So that's one good thing. And here's another reason the pratfall effect might help. It says it can also build trust too. So if you admit to your mistakes, if you kind of say, hey, I'm not perfect and I'm happy to tell you about it, it kind of shows that you're an honest person. Some people would pretend to be perfect, but it might not be true. So others would say, I don't think he's telling me the whole story.
Okay, we've got an example from real life here. Jack Ma. So this is the guy who started Alibaba.
Yeah.
Jack Ma, who started Alibaba, says that being humble and joking about his intelligence has helped him build professional relationships. Okay, so this is what he's done. He goes, I'll make a joke about it. Yeah, I'm stupid sometimes. And that's helped him.
Interesting.
Couple of things to look at there. First is the word humble. It's an adjective. And if you're humble, you're not proud. You don't go around showing off all the good things you have. If people say, hey, you're great, you go, not really. You're being humble. Another word to describe it would be modest. So if we give an example here, Sir Edmund Hillary, New Zealander who climbed Mount Everest. In our example, we see Sir Edmund Hillary has always been very humble about being the first man to climb Mount Everest. He's never shown off, said, hey, it's me, I'm the first guy who did it, check it out. No, he's humble. He says, there was another guy, he helped me. It wasn't just me, and so on. We also saw the phrase joke about. Jack Ma jokes about his intelligence. If you joke about something, you make fun of a situation or a person in order to entertain others and make it seem less serious. These aren't kind of jokes to make others feel bad or kind of make fun of someone, which is a bad thing. You just sort of make light of it. You make it seem, this isn't so bad. Everybody laughs, everybody feels more happy. So you could joke about a serious thing to make it seem kind of like, hey, this isn't so bad. So we found that Jack Ma jokes about his intelligence.
Right, yeah. Your intelligence is basically how smart you are. The things that you learn, the things that you understand, how quickly you learn and understand. If you're a good student, you probably have a lot of intelligence. You probably know a lot, find it easy to learn things, remember things, and of course use them later on in life. So in a lot of things, we need intelligence, but of course, if you want to do something scientific or difficult or technical, having more intelligence will definitely help. And we also talked about how Jack Ma said that joking about his intelligence or his mistakes helps him in his professional life. When we use professional this way as an adjective, talking about your professional life, your professional career, your professional connections, we're talking about things related to your job, all right? Not your personal life. That would be outside of your job, outside of your office, your friends, your hobbies. That's your personal life. Your professional life would be things relating to your job, no matter what job it might be.
And here we're talking about professional relationships. So a relationship is any kind of connection you have with another person. How the two of you interact, treat each other, what is the nature of your connection, and so on. So a relationship could be romantic with two people in love, could be a friendship. Here, a professional relationship, so these people do business with one another.
But don't necessarily hang out together on the weekend.
Exactly. Here's another example. I haven't spoken to my brother in 10 years. We don't have any kind of relationship. So you're barely connected at all. There's no good feeling, no connection between you.
That's right. You might be brothers, but that's about the only way your lives connect. All right, back to the article. It says, perhaps more of us should take this into consideration. Looking at Jack Ma and more importantly, looking at the example that the experiments show, we should think about this. You know, in a job interview and in other places, you should take the pratfall effect into consideration. When you give something consideration, you give it careful thought. You include it in your thinking, in your decisions, in how you do things and go about your life. To take things into consideration, which is how we often use that term in that kind of phrase, it basically means include it in how you think of things or how you decide things. Here's a great example. Since you are going to Russia in the winter, you should take the cold weather into consideration when you pack your clothes. That's an important factor, so include it in how you decide to pack, in how you pick your clothes out. Don't pick out that bikini just because you love it. If you're going to Russia in February, that's not taking the weather into consideration.
Okay, so what's a lesson we can sort of learn from this? Well, the lesson is we might learn that there's no shame in missing the odd mark. Kind of what we mean there is don't worry about always being perfect. A small mistake isn't going to destroy everything.
In fact, it might help you.
Yeah, there's no shame in making a mistake. Shame here means embarrassment, and it's either you feel bad about what you did or everybody else kind of thinks badly about you, okay? You feel shame, like, oh no, what have I done? I've made people angry. I've done something that's terrible. I wish I could go back and change that. You are feeling shame. You wish that other people didn't have that idea about you. Or you could feel it about a situation. Something could be a shame. I feel sad about this situation. Here's an example of the first kind of meaning. Winifred felt great shame when her mother caught her telling a lie. Oh no, I can't believe it. What's she going to think of me now?
Embarrassed, sad, angry at herself, all that kind of stuff. All right, so sometimes it's good to miss the mark. There's no shame in missing the mark.
That phrase, miss a mark or miss the mark, is today's Pocket Phrase Go. Let's check it out.
Pocket Phrase Go!
哈，真是气死我了！安娜贝尔的新电影竟然被人家说是 The movie simply missed the mark。我花了这么多心力，拍了这么久的时间，真是太可恶了！我一定要好好想一想，下一部片要怎么演才能吓死你哦！我看了叫做《安娜贝尔睡觉好不好？我趁你睡觉的时候吓死你 ！Miss the mark， 你可以想象一下你在射箭啊，或者是打靶。Mark 呢，就是那个记号了，没有打中记号 ，miss the mark， 你觉得是失败还是成功啊 ？Miss the mark 就是失败、错失目标的意思了。希望呢这篇评论只是他个人意见，请大家要多支持我。
Hi, welcome back. So yeah, missing the mark, not a problem. As the article concludes, we're only human after all. Now, we've kind of mentioned that, being human, being the same as everybody else, making mistakes, being something or someone you can relate to. That's what this means. Every human makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. And that's what this final sentence is saying. Don't worry about making the occasional slip up. All right, that is the end of today's article. So we're now going to our For You chat question.
For You chat.
So today's question, what is something that you are really good at? How has making mistakes helped you improve?
Wow, that's a tough question.
Yeah, I've got something here. So
Okay.
I'm a writer. I write stories away from this job here.
Okay.
And I get other people to look at my stories and they will find mistakes, not just things like spelling mistakes, but things where it's like, this area of the story, this is kind of slow, or it doesn't make sense, or it feels like it's taking too long. And when they point that out, I go, I see. I can improve. I can learn to not do it again, to kind of make this scene more fast, more exciting, to make the characters seem more likable or interesting. So if I do it wrong and someone shows me how I've done it wrong, I can get better at it for the next time.
That's true, yeah, absolutely. Taking a good, honest look at yourself or having a friend help you do that will help you improve. And it also might make people like you a little bit more because they can still admire you, but also relate to you because no one is perfect. And from learning from our mistakes, we get more perfect. But don't try to be too perfect because it's, nice to be normal.
It is nice to be normal and human, and people can share together and sort of be bonding over, I've made that mistake too.
There you go.
All right, that is the end of today's chat question. Thanks for watching, everyone. For English for You, I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The pratfall effect. Is a little less than perfect the new perfect? The results of Yale's pratfall experiment were interesting. After hearing the accident, the listeners said they liked the high-achieving student even more. Dropping the coffee had made him easier to relate to. The average student, however, was not so lucky. As the listeners already had a poor opinion of him, they found his mistake annoying. In fact, they even thought he was less attractive. So, what could this mean for you? Further studies have shown that the pratfall effect can be used to your advantage in the real world. One, by Swansea University in the UK, even found it can help in job interviews. It showed that people who were already doing well gave an even better impression when they admitted to previous mistakes. It can also build trust, too. Jack Ma, who started Alibaba, says that being humble and joking about his intelligence has helped him build professional relationships. Perhaps more of us should take this into consideration. We might learn that there's no shame in missing the odd mark. We're only human, after all.
Vocabulary Review. Accident. This morning, I saw an accident in which a car hit a person on a bicycle. Attractive. Katie went shopping for an attractive new hat to go with her beautiful purple dress. Humble. Victoria is quite humble, even though she always gets the highest grade in the class. Relationship. It's important to have a good relationship with your doctor and be able to trust their advice. Consideration. Bob takes the food quality and price into consideration when picking a restaurant. Shame. Kevin felt a deep sense of shame when his parents acted rudely to the waiter in the restaurant.
智慧小补帖
Annoying. Intelligence. Professional.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net